Do do do. In the world of pure imagination. Ba da ti, da da ti. You aren't seeing anything real. Sanctions here, ghost guns there. In the world of pure imagination. It's just life. It is reality. Time to start the show. What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Derek O'Shea Show. Ghost guns, sanctions, China's going nuts, and so much more. We have a jam-packed show, everyone. This is the Derek O'Shea Show. Welcome to the revolution. What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Derek O'Shea Show. As I fix my camera and get everything squared away, and my camera's delayed. Great. You know, this is why not everyone does live shows, except for moi. I'm trying to do that for you. This is my last live show before I go off on vacation. I might still produce some more clips and stuff like that, but it'll be, and the likelihood of me going live is almost nil, due to the fact that a family member's getting married and I have to go participate and be a good dudeness, if you will. But let's get right into the news, as it's a beautiful Monday night and we're late, we're into it. Russia expected to make billions more off of energy exports as sanctions fall short. Duh. Even Biden himself says sanctions don't work, yet he still pushes for them. Russia stands to make a significant more off energy exports this year, despite the torrent of international backlash over the invasion of Ukraine. Russia is expected to make $320 billion this year in energy exports to Europe and elsewhere amid sharp increase in fuel prices, according to Bloomberg Economics. The level of revenue is more than a third of what the postorate earned in the energy exports last year. So they're earning more money. They're doing better, as Russia and China are both looking to go on the gold standard and get farther away from the petrodollar. And we think everything's going to be okay. Our actions do not have any repercussions for our own people, which is just the most insane thing to think and say out loud, but here we are. You're seeing a nationalistic uprising in a lot of countries. In Le Pen in France is getting better numbers than she did last time, and she's more a conservative movement, more nationalist mindset, not crazy nationalist. We're not talking Hitler. Every time you say nationalist, people get so triggered by that word. They're automatically assume, oh, nationalist, you mean Hitler? No. Hitler was nationalist with imperialistic ideas to take over the world. You can be a nationalist and just look out for your people first. That's the whole America First movement, if you will. But you're seeing more and more people, more and more countries, more and more political leaders rise up with this nationalistic mindset because of stuff like this. Because you have countries like America that'll go, you know what? We don't want to do business with you because your actions, bam, your economy's dead. And so then they have to stop and think, wait a minute, what do we need to do to align ourselves to not completely fall off the map if a country like America was to decide not to do business with us? And so you're seeing more countries pull out of EU deals and stuff like that. Even in Europe, it's becoming more nationalistic mindset, with places like Hungary and even Britain, with Make America Britain Again. With Britain pulling out of the EU and stuff like that, you're seeing more countries want to do that, and you're seeing a bigger push for a nationalistic mindset because stuff like with the pandemic that went down that really crippled our world economy, and it showed the places where we lack, like our medicine, like our simple medicines and stuff like that, that aren't being made in America. as Biden and Jen Psaki and Kamala are still today talking about Putin's gas hike, and now they're blaming Putin for inflation, as if them printing money over and over again without raising taxes or without being held accountable for what they spend has nothing to do with inflation whatsoever. We live in an upside down world. Down is up and up is down. And you're expected to know that by now. All right. That's the first story. As we get into it, let's continue to go down the pipe as more and more information is coming. I have tons of videos. What's going on in Shanghai? Shanghai has some of the craziest lockdown measures as they have a zero COVID lockdown policy. Leaving residents desperate for food and medicines, authorities say they will now ease restrictions after another mass test of China's populous city. But here are some of the craziest clips that I've seen being passed around due to these lockdowns. And I'm confirming that these clips are all new. They're not old clips. Because that was my first thought, was like, are these just rehashed old China COVID clips from the year before? Like, I couldn't tell even last time with COVID being at the peak if what was propaganda and what was real. It's just like a lot of these Ukraine clips. It's hard to tell what's real and what's not real, but you have to double check and you have to use outside sources to confirm. Don't ever use just one source, especially in wartime efforts, because propaganda is important no matter what side you're on. But some of these videos coming out, it's hard to believe that this is called propaganda, but I'm getting this sense as I've seen Fauci start to rear his head in news agencies more and more, and as Philadelphia pushes to go back to indoor masking, there is this weird push to go back to how things were, and you need to be paying attention to it. I know you're probably like me, and you're just like, I'm done. Once politicians taste power, they don't want to give that up. So just they'll use numbers, they'll use whatever it takes in order to come back to where we were, especially with elections coming down the pipe. But look at some of these videos coming out. This is people in China trying to get food. There's like little boxes in there of food, and they're doing everything they can to get the food. Because they're not allowed to work, and they're being forced to stay within their house. And then we have videos like this of this woman in a quarantine health center, and which is like, this is one of the saddest videos I've seen of the day, of this woman just crying by her bed. As I'm sure she's not allowed to move or leave or do anything besides stay in her little cubicle. Probably taken away from her family and stuff like that. Let's look at this clip. She is absolutely losing her mind, and I'm sure for good reason. She threw her food over the cubicle. I don't know how these videos get out. That was my first question. There's like multiple people filming this person. She's in a cubicle, and obviously she shares this cubicle with another person, and she's sitting there just weeping by her bed. Everything's going okay. And here's another clip of these health inspectors just taking someone and beating them up. They have like a bat or some kind of stick in their hand, and they're just wailing on this person. And they're kicking this person on the ground. No context to this video whatsoever. It's just health inspectors. Here's another one. So I'm not going to make a comment of like what's going on, but the fact that these health inspectors are going around just abusing people like this makes you wonder. Here's people just beating up another person. Here's a lady being arrested. She doesn't have a mask on. I don't know if that was the reason why she was arrested, but she clearly didn't have one on. There's cops arresting someone. with COVID. Look, there's like a police task force, and there's also their COVID task force. It's interesting seeing all those, like the COVID task force or whatever, all in suits. And then the cops just have masks on. It's like some kind of dystopian hell. Here's another video of the COVID police or whatever they are. They look like something out of the, what's that island show? I can't remember. Where the plane crashes and then there's people on the island and there's people that work there. Is it called the island? It'll probably come to me halfway through the show. This person's being taken away. And here's another person being told to go back. And he didn't listen, so they took him down. It just gets crazier and crazier. DEFCON, what's up, man? Lost, I know. And then this video's crazy as well of somebody just being taken down. Here's another video. There's videos of all over the place of these COVID police or whatever they are, just taking them down. Taking people down. You can hear just crying. And then this video is one of the most depressing videos. Is in Shanghai, the police there are taking people's animals who are in lockdown. And you can just see cats in green bags, just stuffed together. Which is always like, people sometimes mock, saying like, why do people care more about animals? I can understand in some instances that animals are more, you're more empathetic because they have no choice in the matter and they have no idea what's going on, and so they're little and helpless. But whatever. Also, the Chinese people are starving to death. There's that. And then one of the creepiest videos and the saddest videos is this right here of people in Shanghai screaming out their window because of total lockdown together. Let's listen.
这个是正常人的叫，好了，终于2万人，所有人都在叫，要命了，就刚刚。
You got to get those endorphins out somehow.
5分钟前头，俺们叫我没几个了，现在突然之间，所有人都叫，要死。
Seriously, this is what hell, a perfect picture of hell. You can live and survive, but you can only live in this small cubicle. You can scream out your window all you want, but there's no help coming.
真的要插进去了，麻烦了。根治上面呢，因为所有的人，你都不晓得。
Wait till they cut the power, then that's when hell will break loose.
到底维持到啥个辰光？侬总要拨个标准，或者是讲有一个具体的说法。
It's one of those moments I wish I spoke Chinese, Cantonese.
没，侬讲看，闷了7天，等到屋里向。
If that's not a freaking hellhole, I don't know what is. And then here's another video of a child being forced to leave his family in a little suit. It's almost funny because he looks like E.T. walking in that suit, but at the same time, it's like the freaking saddest thing ever. It's like a little child just walking in a suit. Totally acceptable behavior. As I've seen more and more reports of people, their children being taken from them if they test positive for COVID. Again, the probability of this kid dying is very low. But he's being taken away in an ambulance. I'm sure this kid is going to experience crazy amounts of trauma being forced to leave his family like that. But here we are. So China's lockdowns are extending and getting crazier by the minute. And then we have our mask mandates right here on airplanes could be extended. They were proposed to end April 18th. but now we're extending them, of course.
go.
And here's
But the good news is we're coming off of still very low infection.
here's our new COVID czar. Freaking czars. Like what country do we live in? But here's the czar of COVID.
About this BA2 subvariant, are we in the midst of another surge?
Yeah, it's a great question, Savannah. I am not overly concerned right now. Case numbers are rising. BA2, we were expecting this, right? Because we saw this in Europe a few weeks ago. But the good news is we're coming off of still very low infection numbers. Hospitalizations right now are the lowest they have been in the entire pandemic. So we've got to watch this very carefully. Obviously, I never like to see infections rising. I think we got to be careful, but I don't think this is a moment where we have to be excessively concerned.
As you know, the mask mandate for public transportation, airplanes, airports, trains, and the like, that is set to expire next week. Do you still support that, or do you think that perhaps the mask mandate should be extended for public transportation in light of these rising cases?
Yeah, this is a really good question. This is a decision that the CDC director, Dr. Walensky, is going to make. I know the CDC is working on developing a scientific framework for how to answer that. We're going to see that framework come out.
You can always tell when the answer is yes or no. If it's a yes, it means they'll just simply continue to give reasons of why we're still speculating. We're coming to our conclusions. We don't know. We're not for sure yet. If it's a no, they'll be like, no, absolutely not. So you can expect it.
I think in the next few days. And based on that, we're going to want to be guided by this decision. You know, throughout the entire pandemic, we've wanted to make decisions based on the evidence and science. And that is what I expect we'll do again this week.
Well, let me just ask you, Dr. Jha, does that mean that extending the mask mandate in public transportation is a live option? It's on the table?
Yeah, look, this is a CDC decision, and I think it is absolutely on the table. And Dr. Walensky is going to make her decision based on the framework that the CDC scientists create, and we'll make a decision collectively based on that.
What about schools? How do these schools determine whether or not to have kids get back in masks? I know in the Northeast, we're seeing the cases go up. We're seeing a lot of kids certainly suddenly turning up with COVID. Do mask mandates or mask advisories need to come back in schools?
Yeah, so, you know, CDC, and again, you know, CDC has created a framework that I actually really like, and I've been very supportive of it well before I came into this role, which basically looks at each community and assesses risk based on infections, based on hospitalizations, hospital capacity. And one of the points that the CDC made was that schools should not be treated differently than the rest of the community. And so if there are mask mandates in the rest of the community, schools should have them. If they're not, they shouldn't be. That's what we should be doing. So people can go to the CDC, look up
Good
where
luck with the teachers'
risk
unions
is,
on that.
and that's how we should be deciding what's happening in schools as well.
Do you feel, Dr. Jha, that you have a good handle on the number of cases, because we've seen some of those public testing sites close? People do private testing, or they don't test at all, but it doesn't get reported. So there's a lot of experts who feel that the case numbers are actually severely undercounted right now.
Yeah, so we've had undercounting throughout the whole pandemic, right? And that is all
just undercounting, no overcounting? Okay.
Always been an issue. There is no question in my mind with rise of home tests, which I'm incredibly supportive of, by the way, right? I think home tests are great. We're going to miss a lot of those. We have other indicators. We have community-based surveys that we're doing of infections. Obviously, we're looking at hospitalizations. Those are still at very, very low levels. So I do feel like we have a pretty good grip of the overall picture, but no doubt about it, obviously, we're not capturing every infection, especially with people doing more home tests.
And finally, the president has been in close quarters recently with people who have subsequently tested positive, most notably Nancy Pelosi.
There's a 15-minute rule they can make out for 14 minutes.
That was last Tuesday at the White House. She was there again the next.
That's what Jen Psaki said.
Wednesday, and on Thursday, she announced she had tested positive for COVID. You look at those pictures, not a mask in sight. In hindsight, is that a mistake?
Yeah, so the White House has very tough COVID protocols, very tough.
I love that. You can tell he's like such a pawn for Biden. He's like, you know, we're about the science, but, you know, the White House is doing whatever they can.
Protocols around the president.
And this is why people have always called it out, called it BS. And then because it doesn't seem logical. It doesn't follow the logic. And then we have, let me find it. God, you know, this is what happens when you do a live show. And then we have this story coming out of Philadelphia as we continue down our COVID spiral, if you will.
The possibility of requiring masks inside in Philadelphia, though, is not very popular.
It should be to each his own. If you want to wear a mask, fine. I don't have a problem with it. But mandatory, that's like saying one size fits all.
This is terrible. You know, we had to do this for 2 years, and I feel like we're back to normal now. And if you are getting the virus right now, it's very minor.
The possibility.
How dare he say that? That's fake news. But again, be careful and continue to watch out, because I don't know if you remember last time, but last time it started exactly like this, where we downplayed it and we're like, well, maybe we'll impose, maybe we'll look at mask mandate, maybe we'll do this as China was going nuts. And then we decided to join the ranks of China, if you will. And Fauci has been popping his head back over the weekend, even though he's been shunned, it seemed like, but now he's back. Is COVID done? I don't think so. And definitely not those powers. Because once they take them, once they get a sweet taste of those sweet powers, lock everyone down while they can just continue to hang out and go to fine dining restaurants like Gavin Newsom and continue to be elected, because no one cares about anything anymore. No one stands for anything. I'm curious what you guys think about this and how you feel COVID is starting to rear its head again. What will happen? You tell me. All right. Now let's go down some of our clips as my kryptonite, my people, my view, talking about The View, talking about Will Smith's slap and then somehow comparing it to Trump, somehow talking about Trump within the same breath, is exactly why The View shouldn't be used as a trusted source. This is what happens when you have Trump derangement syndrome. You see, it's like what's the quote is, if you stare into the abyss or something, all you'll see is the abyss. Or like, if all you look for, I don't even remember. God, I'm like blanking. This is what happens when you do a live show. But if all you focus on is like racism, all you focus on is Trump, and that's all you can think about all the time, you're going to see Trump and everything. And that's how it is with these people. So here's The View right here.
Finally made a decision on how Will Smith should be punished for the slap heard round the world. He's banned from the Oscars for 10 years. Yeah. So what? Who wants to go to that anyway? So does the punishment fit the crime? Some people are saying he should give the Oscar back.
No, not the Oscar back. What he did had nothing to do with his art or his performance. It was about how he behaved.
Exactly. It was like another performance within itself. You know, to really smack someone in the face and then immediately cry and make it all about you shortly after that. Beautiful.
Punishment fit the crime? Some people are saying he should give the Oscar back.
No, not the Oscar back. What he did had nothing to do with his art or his performance. It was about how he behaved in a setting and
right.
in the event itself. I actually, when I heard,
I love how they like downplay stuff like with, that's what you know, there's privilege. He's like, yeah, he was just like a weird behavior, just like this kind of awkward moment for him once in his life that is not true to his character whatsoever. It's just a weird blip. Like, really? Do I get that same account? Like, if I go up and punch somebody right in the face, are people gonna see me as just a weird night for you, bro?
10, I thought that felt like a lot of time.
It's longer than Donald Trump will ever get. Well, I'll tell you right now.
Donald Trump will ever get for what? Why don't you, instead of just continuing to charge him and stuff, why don't you prove some of the things that you charge him for?
Well, many crimes.
You talk about someone having growth and taking time.
Don't you love how she just like, they're in the middle of talking about Will Smith and all of a sudden she's like, it'll be longer than Donald Trump will ever get. Like, when we started talking about Donald Trump, what are you even doing? God, you're losing it.
Will ever get. Well, I'll tell you right now. Many crimes.
You talk about someone having growth and taking time to recognize they did something wrong. It felt like overkill in some ways. I thought maybe he'd be out for 3 to 5 years or not be able to. Now he won't be able to present next year, and all that felt appropriate. But when I heard a whole decade, I was like, I mean,
actually thought it was appropriate, though. I think there are like 1,000 responses short of physical violence that you could have defended your wife. Use your words. Like, we teach our kids that. It was just such a dark moment that took away from the art that we were celebrating. Yeah. I get it. People do change and grow. My thing with him is, like, I think we're all observing that maybe the private man that we don't, at least I don't personally know, maybe has some struggles that are very different than the very public, charismatic Will Smith we know. And I just hope he uses...
Are you telling me that actors don't just act?
this period to work on that. I mean, we love him. He's like one of the most phenomenal actors and just such a positive force in the work that he does.
Yeah.
Will Smith is a phenomenal actor. Okay.
But that was not a normal, that was a very disproportionate reaction, I would say.
What was interesting,
We're not going to cancel it. We're not going to get rid of him. He's on our side. He's one of the good ones. You know, if it was one of those white supremacists slapping someone else, we will get rid of him in a heartbeat. You bet your bottom dollar on that one.
I thought 10 years was appropriate for what we saw. I don't think the Oscar should be taken from him. I mean, we haven't
Harvey
taken...
Weinstein still has his.
They haven't taken those the Oscars.
It's nice that you actually mentioned that.
From anyone. What was interesting to me was the discussion that I've been seeing about blaming Jada Pinkett Smith for those...
Oh, no, here we go. Here's some deep theological points from our base.
Actions. And I never think that you should blame one spouse for the actions of another. And I'm surprised that that has been sort of what everything is about now.
Well, because she looked like she was disapproving of...
Yeah, she was disapproving, and then she also laughed after it happened. Yeah, there was no correlation.
What?
Correlation does not equal causation.
Chris Rock said.
No,
if you watch the tape, she gave the eyeball
It's
roll.
more than that. There's been a lot
That's
of...
been interesting to me.
There's been a lot of video. You know, they've been very public. She, in particular, has been very public. She's got an entire Red Table show on Facebook where they discuss very personal, private things.
Very
and so
personal.
When you air out your...
Like her cheating on Will Smith with her son's friend. No big deal there.
Dirty laundry, your dirty laundry is going to be out there forever. And when things like this happen, people come up with the dirty laundry and it puts things into context. And so I think when you see a lot of those videos now, given what's happened, you know, it's made me feel, I don't know how, a certain way. I can't put words in it, but I'm like, you know, I think I'm not feeling all good about it. I do think the talking about taking his Oscar away.
Oh, jeez. I can't listen to this anymore. God. These people are paid more than I'll ever make in my life, and it's like absolutely just nonsensical listening to them. It's just like I can't do it anymore. The best point was at the beginning when Joe Behar just decided to talk about Trump in the midst of talking about Will Smith. We just live in a crazy world. Okay. Here is a breaking news story. And ladies, don't say that I never talk about women's sports, because here we go. This is your moment. Atlanta Dream select Kentucky guard Ryan Howard with the #1 pick of the 2022 WNBA draft. Atlanta traded from 3 to 14th picks in the mystics of Ryan Howard. Howard was a unanimous first-team All-American in 2021 after averaging 20.5 points per game in her senior year. She was also a terror defensively, ranking 5th in the SEC in steals and 2.3 per game. She is a dominant beast of a woman, and God, we're glad that Atlanta Dream have her on her team. There. I'll never do another story like that again. All right, next story. Okay. This story right here is a story that I think is not being reported on enough, not being talked on enough, because it's one of those stories you're like, oh yeah, I remember seeing that video. But when we talk about privilege, we talk about, everyone talks about like people of color disproportionately receiving higher jail sentences and stuff like that for crimes. This crime is insane, Remember the woman dubbed the Soho Karen, the one that pleaded guilty for being caught for a viral video, and she pleaded guilty for a hate crime. She got caught in a viral video of blaming a black man for stealing her phone. And here's the news talking about it. Then we'll get into some of the details that are very important.
Who became known as Soho Karen after tackling a black teenager she had falsely accused of stealing her phone, pleaded guilty today. Video of that attack went viral in 2020. Today, 23-year-old Maya Ponsetto pleaded guilty to hate crime charges in New York. In the video, she refuses to let the boy and his family leave the hotel, lunging at the videographer and
she's just grabbing him. He's totally fine.
A teenager. Ponsetto is on probation in California from a different case, but must continue counseling and stay out of trouble. If she does not comply, she could be sentenced to up to 4 years in state prison.
4 years. 4 years. Ponsetto, now 23, pleaded guilty for unlawful imprisonment in the second degree as a hate crime on Monday, according to Manhattan District Alvin Bragg Jr. That video went viral, and you could just see her tackling him, and he's totally fine. He's not like injured. He's like not
good afternoon, good evening. By
named.
now, we've
Here's
actually
the
been
old
checking on the
story.
addresses for the woman that you may know as Soho Karen, identified now as 22-year-old Maya Ponsetto. And, well, the last time you saw her was probably doing this. Check it out.
That's mine. Literally didn't get it back.
Video posted by jazz trumpeter Keon Harold of 22-year-old Maya Ponsetto charging at his 14-year-old son.
Yes,
in a
and they
New York
jumped
hotel
right on this
after
because
accusing him of stealing her iPhone.
This really could have turned into an
Uber
even
driver
worse
later
situation.
returned her
Let's
phone,
go to the
which
video. The
Ponsetto had
UPS
seemingly left in
facility.
the
They got the
vehicle.
call a little bit between 8 and 9 o'clock this morning.
They just started like another video on top of
Now
it. Sorry.
activists in Los Angeles are asking for her arrest. She actually lives in the LA area.
This was a racially motivated attack. Make no mistake about it. She lives in the city of LA.
We're asking that
I love that people just assume it. Those are my favorite kind of people.
she turn herself in to the authorities.
Maybe she was. I have no idea.
To face justice back in New York.
NYPD released.
She accused somebody of falsely stealing her phone. Is she going to get the same treatment just Juicy Smollett has gotten? As a white woman that gets her phone taken away from her. Doesn't know where her phone is. It's a totally stupid incident. And she should be forced to do stuff like, you know, go clean up a highway or something like that. That should be the response of this. But no, she's facing up to 4 years in prison. She could face anywhere from 16 months to 4 years in New York State prison. God, that's freaking nuts. That is like such an egregious, harsh like sentencing for such a silly crime and just stupid and it is horrible and stupid to falsely accuse people. And don't get me wrong, but to say you're gonna face up to 4 years in a state prison. God, it's just like we just live in such a crazy world right now where you can falsely accuse someone, then tackle someone, and all of a sudden you get 4 years in prison, or you can falsely claim that MAGA Trump supporters put a noose around your neck. Then you can go in front of all the morning talk show hosts, and then all of a sudden get bailed out early because you're not popular. Or as, all kinds of crimes like sex offenders and stuff like that, or anybody who participated in some of the riots, those people are doing okay. But this woman, 4 years for that. That's just crazy. It's just, we live in an upside down world, And don't get me wrong. I think she should be charged with something because that's really stupid and dumb. You can't just go around tackling 14-year-old boys for thinking they stole your phone. That's completely idiotic. But to face 4 years in prison for it, it's totally crazy. Okay. This is bad behavior. No justice, no peace. All right, as we continue down the no justice, no peace rabbit hole. Black Lives Matter got in trouble for spending $6 million on their mansion. All right. And I did a report on it not too long ago. And we went around and we talked about it and made fun of it and stuff like that, as I called them. Basically, the Joel Osteen of the Black Lives Matter movement. It's like, why the pastor got to have a Ferrari? Why the pastor got to have a private jet? The pastor needs a private jet. The pastor needs this stuff. But then we get to Black Lives Matter, and they put out a statement to fight back on some of the ideas and how angry they are about the responses people have had. And here's their response on Twitter. There has been a lot of questions surrounding recent reports about the purchase of the Creator's House in California. It's a Creator's House, so shut up, we're being creative. As they continue. Of course, on Twitter, they allow it to only the people that are mentioned can reply, aka no one. Despite past efforts, BLM GNF recognizes that there is more work to do to increase transparency and ensure transitions in leadership is clear. We know narratives like this cause harm to organizations doing brilliant work. Yeah, why would... It's the narrative. It's not actually that Black Lives Matter is doing terrible things. It's this false narrative that's created, doing brilliant work across the country. And these reports do not reflect the totality of the movement. We apologize for the distress that has caused to our supporters and those who work in the service of Black liberation daily. We also recognize the confusion of recent inflammatory and speculative articles have caused. That's right. They're not in the wrong. They're not being wrong. You're just confused. You don't get it. Don't you love how that elitist attitude of, I know you see it with your own eyes, and I know you can read words with your own eyes and understand it with your own brain because, you can read above a 6th grade reading level like myself. Hooked on phonics worked for me. But you just don't get it. As they continue, we are reducing our efforts to provide clarity about BLM's GNF work. In the coming weeks, we will unveil new initiatives to increase transparency and accountability. Sure. And continue reshaping what radical philanthropy looks like for Black people. That's right. You caught us, you busted us, and we just need to do better about transparency. But also, it's a narrative that's going around. We're being transparent, but we're not being transparent, and we promise to be more transparent. Are you following this? BLM GNF is working diligently to increase operations and transparency, including internal audit. By who? Their own people. And tightening compliance operations and creating a new board to help steer organizations to its next evolution. That's right. It's a way of saying we have so much money, bro, we'll continue to change and we'll just take the bad PR on its face. And they continue. It gets better, by the way. I know this seems long, but it gets better. Black creativity is necessary for vital for Black survival. BLM has always held a traditional sacred partnering with artists of every kind since our founding. That's why, here we go. That's why our Creator's House was purchased to provide a space for Black folks to share their gifts with the world and hone their craft as they see fit, under the conditions that best work for them outside systems of oppression and creative industries. That's right. We bought the $6 million house to provide a space for Black folks. I mean, just myself. And we're going to invite some people. We're going to start a podcast to get some more money. And we'll invite people over. It's no big deal. And we also gave $3 million to this. Makes you wonder how rich these people are. So they bought the house to spread joy and for more creativity. And then they continue just to talk absolute nonsense. And then they finish with saying, we are embracing this moment as an opportunity for accountability. How can you be accountable for something you call our narrative? Healing and truth-telling and transparency. We understand the necessity of working intentionally to rebuild trust. AKA, we would like some more of your money and continue to forging a new path that sustains Black people for generations. Also, donate here. And here's a little tip button. Will you like to tip? Be sure to tip us. Tip us on us talking about the house that we absolutely have to have. We got to have it. And the private jets and the vacation. We got to have it. It's for creativity. It's for our joy. I love it when people get caught for things and then they put out statements like this where I think a part of them assumed people would stop reading this thread because they talk about like the narrative and these false narratives and doing harm to their brilliant work and people not understanding, using words like confusion, narratives, causing harm, like you're causing harm to us. We're apologizing to the supporters of what has caused harm by other people. And then you get to the end and they talk more about truth telling and being more honest. Just incredible. Black Lives Matter doing what Black Lives Matter does best. Creating a narrative. Perfect. Make sure to give. I want them to be in a $12 million mansion next year for their podcast. It's a must. They have to do it. All right, as we continue down the rabbit hole. And then we get to this video. This video is sad and also almost hilarious. A man was going around putting "I did that" stickers on gas pumps, and he gets arrested by cops. And here's the story about it. Forgive me for playing Jesse Waters.
You can rob a jewelry store and be back out on the streets in a couple hours. But don't you dare make Biden the butt of a joke. Thanks to soaring gas prices, "I did that" stickers with a pointing Joe Biden have been popping up on gas pumps all across the country. We've been seeing them everywhere. One man in Pennsylvania, though, is paying the price after he stuck a couple stickers to some pumps at his local gas station. Watch.
I did that. That's what I did. Video. So I bashed my and slammed me in here. Let's see some blood, man. Let's see some blood.
He's like addicted to it. He's like, let me just put one more sticker on there, bro.
The man has now been
so thankful for those cops protecting and serving.
Charged with resisting arrest, disorderly conduct, harassment, and criminal mischief. We understand his frustration. Gas prices are getting out of hand. But if you're going to put up the stickers, maybe keep it cool when the cops come.
No. I think you need to raise your level up and scream more. And maybe put some stickers on their foreheads. That is a crazy story. All right. And then we get to Joe Biden. We get to our beloved leader, Joe Biden. As he talks, Joe Biden is going in on magazine capacity, ghost guns, and this thing he calls assault weapons. What assault weapons is I have no idea. The only argument I've heard from about assault weapons is that you know what they look like. They look assaulty, okay? They're weapons of war. I know like shotguns could be also weapons of war, like any kind of rifle, but even 9mm handguns are weapons of war. Just ask the Ukrainians, but that's different. What do you need? A bulletproof? And then Joe Biden also talked about his Kevlar joke, as he always talks about, as he goes up, he talks about how he's like connected with hunters, and he goes in and he talks to other hunters, and he says, I was talking to this guy that was hunting a deer out in the open, typical. People always have long and extensive and loud conversations when they're hunting. And he's like, what do you need all those rounds for? And he had like a 14 magazine capacity, 14 capacity. He's like, 14 round capacity. Excuse me. What do you need all those rounds for? What do you got a crappy shot? I mean, what does a deer have, a Kevlar vest or something? He uses that joke again and again and again because he's a broken record. But here's some clips from Biden today.
We need Congress to pass universal background checks.
Oh my God, I love when he whispers.
We need Congress to pass universal background checks.
Which a lot of people don't know is that there are background checks, and even when you purchase a gun online, you have to go pick it up from a registered FFL dealer, and then you get a background check there. But, you know, these people that don't buy guns, don't buy weapons, just assume it's like buying an Amazon card. You just put it in your box and it shows up at your door. That is not the case.
Universal background check.
And nobody does a better background check than the FBI. I mean, look at Hunter Biden throwing his gun in a trash can. No big deal there. I don't want you to even bring that up again.
And I know it's controversial, but I got it done once. Ban assault weapons and high-capacity magazines.
Yeah, ban those assault weapons. What's an assault weapon? Looks assaulty. And high capacity. We don't want you shooting more than 9 rounds. Only the government can have that. What do you need all those rounds for? What do you need that for? It's not like, you know, you're living in your nice neighborhood. You got your security guard like me. You're walking around with Secret Service. What do you need protection from? Doesn't everyone walk around with Secret Service like me?
I was getting criticized when I first passed this law when I was a senator.
Here we go.
And guess what?
He's so amazing.
I was down in southern Delaware, do a lot of hunting and fishing down
Here
there.
we go. Here we
I
go.
was walking.
He was down in southern Delaware doing a lot of hunting and fishing. A lot. Really, Joe? How much were you hunting and fishing? But continue.
And I was walking up one of the creek beds.
Crick beds, because I'm a crick bed. I'm just like you. You know, I'm down to earth. I haven't been working in government my whole life.
And the guy standing there said, "You want to take my gun?" I said, "No, I'll take your gun."
Yeah, he just walked up on a hunter. And he was like, "You gonna take my gun?" Who is this hunter that Joe Biden walked up on? Like, what the frick?
So you're telling me I can't have more than X number of bullets in my gun?
Right.
And
Here's
I
the
said,
same story.
Do you think the deer you're hunting wear Kevlar vests? What the hell you need 20 bullets for?
I love that people in the audience did fake laughs because I've heard that same story and that same joke 100 times. These politicians, they think if you tell the same joke over and over again, people will laugh the same amount. If it wasn't funny the first time, say it again and again and again, and therefore it becomes funny. Everyone knows that.
Kevlar vest, what the hell you need 20 bullets for? You must be a hell of a terrible shot. I'm serious. Think about it.
Serious, you just need one. Joe Biden goes to the gun range every day. He knows. He knows how easy it is to hit a target from 300 yards away, 200 yards away. He knows exactly what it's like. So how dare you?
Think about the mass shootings. As many as 100 rounds. It's a weapon of war.
Yeah, think about all the kids in Chicago. They get murdered every single weekend that no one talks about. But we'll talk about those handful of high school kids that are horrible human beings. Terrible, terrible, terrible events. But people like this, they want to control law-abiding citizens more and create more chaos. Because then who has the weapons? It's the ones that are doing it illegally, not people like you and me who are like, I just want to live free, but I know that I have to live within the law of the land because I don't want to end up in jail.
There's nothing to do with recreation.
It has everything to do with recreation, Joe. And then he continues on to this. And he talks about his ghost guns. And then he goes on to pretend to sort of assemble it, but you can clearly see that he has no idea what he's doing.
You know, if you buy a couch you have to assemble, it's still
Like
a
on
couch.
Like on IKEA.
If you order a package like this one over here, that includes the parts you need, the direction of assembling a functioning firearm, you bought a gun. Take a look. Take a look at this. It comes in this package. You can see the picture down here, maybe. This is the gun.
It's not. He has no idea how to put it together. He's like, this is the guy right here. I don't know what this is. What is this called? Slide? I don't know.
It's not hard
It's not hard. I just don't know what it is.
to put together. A little drill, hand drill at home. Doesn't take very long. Anyone can order it in the mail.
Anyone?
Anyone. Folks, a felon, a terrorist, a domestic abuser can go from a gun kit to a gun in as little as 30 minutes.
What? No. No. That's right. If you're a terrorist, you're going to legally purchase a firearm. God, who are these people that believe this stuff? Please help me. And then we get on to this part of Joe Biden talking about guns, and it makes absolutely no sense, and he does his little gaffe, but it's more of cognitive decline, but no one wants to talk about that, whatever. Actually, he's doing just fine. I don't know why I just said that. And here's Joe Biden saying something that makes no sense and continuing to go on. See, if you want to call it a stutter, I think somebody with a stutter understands when they're stuttering and then will stop and then go, oh, because I have dyslexia. So sometimes when I read things, it won't make sense. And if it doesn't make sense when it comes out of my mouth, I'll stop and I'll reread something. And so to say it's a stutter, I think people with a stutter understand when they're getting words completely wrong or out of context or just adding words or messing up a word and they try to fix it. But he just keeps motoring because he expects you not to remember.
We're the only outfit in the country that is immune. Imagine had the tobacco industry been immune to prostitute being sued.
What? Prostitute being sued.
Immune to prostitute being sued. Come on.
Come on, prostitute being sued. Come on.
In February, the families
prostitute being sued. Come on, February.
Of 9.
God. Yeah, keep sticking up for this guy as he continues to speak absolute nonsense. But Joe Biden's ramping it up because for the gun control thing, because especially with that shooting that happened in Sacramento of a guy that clearly had probably an illegal firearm. We'll just pretend like nothing. He attained it completely legally, and it's through loopholes or gun show loopholes. He didn't just like get it from a cartel member or a gang member or somebody stole it off somebody or something like that. It was he legally attained it or some crap like that. They want you to believe that, but you can't legally attain that kind of firearm and then carry it across. Like, this doesn't help law-abiding citizens, of course. This helps criminals, and it helps the state, the government, continue to gain more power. The government isn't afraid of their citizens. They will do whatever they can to stay in power and to remain in power, period. Okay. And then we get on to Jen Psaki today. She talked about the new CPI report that's coming. New CPI report coming down for March is expected to be extremely insane. But per usual, like a good politician, Jen Psaki and Biden and everyone else is calling it Putin's problem. And we'll listen here.
So because of the actions we've taken to address the Putin price hike, we are in a better place than we were.
Yeah, it's not a Putin gas hike. It's a Putin price hike. Come on down to Putin's price hike. Things are half off. Don't you love? They can just put it on everything now. Anything that's going wrong in the world, it's Putin's, you fill in the blank hike. Putin's crime hike. Putin's inflation hike. Putin's social security hike. Like, just throw it in everywhere. If it doesn't make sense, no one looks it up anyways. They know everyone's a plebe and doesn't take time to research this stuff or listen to amazing shows like this.
So because of the actions we've taken to address the Putin price hike, we are in a better place than we were last month. But we expect March CPI headline inflation to be extraordinarily elevated due to Putin's price hike.
That's right. Inflation is due to Putin. not because the government continues to spend and then not raise taxes and just continues to print more money. That's not what's happening here. It's these greedy corporations and it's Putin. It's not the government, okay? The government is your friend. The government would never lie to you, okay? If you think that, you're a white supremacist and you need to be stopped, period.
And we expect a large difference between core and headline inflation, reflecting the global disruptions in energy and food markets. So core inflation doesn't include energy and food prices. Headline inflation does. And of course, we know that core inflation, energy, the impact of energy, of course, on oil prices, gas prices, we expect that to continue to reflect what we've seen the increases be over the course of this invasion. And just as an example, since President Putin's military buildup accelerated in January, average gas prices are up more than...
Oh, we're talking about gas prices? I thought we were talking about inflation. It's whatever.
80 cents. Most of the increase occurred in the month of March, and at times gas prices were more than $1 above pre-invasion levels. So that roughly 25% increase in gas prices.
Yeah, it's not that we're releasing our emergency supply barrels to deflate the price of oil. Biden's actually doing everything he can, and it's Putin's fault,
Will drive tomorrow's inflation reading, and certainly it's not a surprise to us, but we certainly think it will be reflected.
Again, if there's any problems in the world, politicians blame everything but themselves, always and forever. Amen. It's like the most obnoxious thing to listen about, Like, it's just I just called myself a decent human being. As a human being, it gets harder and harder to just accept some of these like insane things that they get away with saying. They can get away with murder. They like literally murder. They can say whatever they want, and people just.
Mike, I know you haven't been on the Twitter board for about 10 years.
People just. It's like people don't take time out of their day to look stuff up. It's really disheartening sometimes that they just feel like they can call this out because there's not enough pushback. If there was more pushback, they wouldn't be saying these things, and they would actually be holding people accountable, and they would maybe talk crap about Republican candidates or Republican nominees and people in Congress and Senate that are just passing these bills along. And they're pretend fiscal conservatives. It's like Mitch McConnell is like, we'll pass the next COVID relief funding, but you got to keep Title 42 in place for the border. Really, Mitch? That's your fiscal responsibility right there, is to say, well, we'll pass this insane bill that continues to fund everything that doesn't make any money, but you got to keep this in. I mean, at this point, Republicans are just little roadblocks or speed bumps to what people in this administration is doing, and especially people on the left. But whatever. And then Jen Psaki gets asked about why Biden sometimes wears a mask and sometimes he doesn't. Because it's about the science, okay? It's about the science, and if you question it, I'm going to lose my mind, okay? Listen to this response.
The president was photographed over the weekend in Washington, D.C. wearing a mask. I just wanted to, if you could go through like when he masks and when he doesn't.
When he's around a bunch of people and he's signing a bill, no mask. When he's outside walking from his helicopter back to the White House, you need a mask.
Would it appear that he did not have a close contact, but correct me if that's wrong?
He did not, but we all make decisions. Some people in here are wearing masks to wear masks to make them more comfortable,
Oh, so we're wearing a mask to make ourselves more comfortable.
Or because they chose to that day, or maybe they're going to be around family members or people who may be immunocompromised or vulnerable, and the president makes that decision as we all do.
How dare you be allowed to say stuff like that? How dare you? I didn't say that, YouTube. Jen said that. Okay. Okay. All right. And then we get to here. I don't know if you saw a few days ago Zelensky and Boris Johnson doing a little walk around Ukraine during the middle of a war. They walked around the city, Boris freaking Johnson. And all I couldn't help but think, God, like, I don't care that Biden doesn't do it, but I'm just trying to imagine Biden walking around Kyiv for a long, extended period of time. That would never happen, period. But nonetheless, Jen Psaki gets asked a question from the Fox News reporter, and she asks her about, is Biden going to Ukraine ever? Is Biden going to ever be like as strong of a leader as Boris Johnson? Here's her response.
Has the president asked to go to Ukraine?
I'm not going to get into private conversations. What I will tell you is we're not currently planning a trip by the President of the United States to Ukraine. What is most important to the Ukrainian leadership is that we are expediting weapons and getting them the assistance and security systems they need, and that is what our focus is on.
And who decides if the president goes to Ukraine or not?
In what way?
He had said when he was in Poland that he expressed interest in going to Ukraine, but they wouldn't let me. So I'm wondering who
I'm not going to get into private considerations internally on that front.
Okay.
Obama wouldn't let me. Oh, he's not good. It would be like crazy circumstances to see Joe Biden in Ukraine. If anything, it might be like under a bunker for like a short conversation. I just don't see it happening where it's like for a long, extended period of time. Or going for a walk like Boris Johnson did. But you're seeing this played out more and more as America is not the powerhouse it used to be. Boris Johnson can go walk around. Other leaders will go walk around, but ours isn't. Ours isn't standing up and engaging in it. And then again, I don't want any of that. But it just shows you that America is not as great as it used to be, you know? We're not the powerhouse. No one looks to us for the answers anymore. People are looking elsewhere. We have so many problems here that we pretend aren't even real. Our propaganda isn't even as good as it used to be. People feel like the world is untrustworthy in today's culture because our propaganda isn't as good as it used to be. Let me know your thoughts on that. What is this? Okay. And then we get to this clip with American dramatist David Mamet. Teachers are inclined, particularly men, because men are predators to pedophilia. This is on Mark Levin. Let's listen here. As groomers and stuff like that are being pushed down and talked about more and more. And we are here for it. Killer T-Cell says our pedo globalist traitors of humanity kind of made us look less cool. We are less cool. It's just we are slowly losing the culture battle of the world. I don't think people want to be Americans like they used to, you know? It used to be like a symbol of power and a confidence and like a I don't give a crap attitude. I do what I want. And we just don't have that anymore because of politicians like Joe Biden who make us look weak. I mean, he can't even come up with, he talked about prostitution in the tobacco industry today during his gun speech and just kept going. Like, we just live in altered realities as like people on the left pretend like Joe Biden and there's nothing going wrong and Joe Biden is actually a fantastic president. What are you talking about? But here's on Mark Levin. This might be interesting. Let's listen to this clip.
But we have to take back control. If there's no community control of the schools, what we have is kids being not only indoctrinated, but groomed in a very real sense by people who are, whether they know it or not, sexual predators. Are they abusing the kids physically? No, I don't think so. But they're abusing them mentally and using sex to do so. This has always been the problem with education, is that teachers are inclined, particularly men, because men are predators, to pedophilia. And that's why there were strict community strictures about it. thank God. So this started to break down when the schools said, you know what, we have to teach the kids about sex. Why? Because what if they don't do it at home? This is...
Look, I talk about education a lot on here because I used to work in education as a middle school teacher, worked with high schoolers for a long time. These teachers are not going to give up power. And so there is going to be a battle. There is going to be a fight to the end regarding these bills and teacher control and teacher power over their classrooms, and especially with the teachers union. If people think that they're just going to roll over and everything's going to be fine, it's going to be a long, long fight. It's not going to be like one of these things that you just pass a bill and whatever's whatever. They are going to continue to press into their power because they feel like they are in control of what your kids are their kids in their eyes, and they'll do whatever they want with your kids, no matter what. And so they'll fight you on the power. They'll fight you on what they can teach your kids. That's why they can talk about things like saying math is racist and 2 + 2 doesn't equal 2, and like we should be more equitable when it comes to education. Like this idea that, you know, a couple of bills are going to pass, they don't care about those. They think they're, you know, they'll suffer for their gospel. Their gospel is their sexual revolution, their queer gender theory. And if you don't know about queer theory, you need to look up queer theory. But this is a revolution, and this is a theology for them. This is a religion for them, that they'll do whatever it takes in order for their message to be put across. And if it means they go to jail, they see it as an act of suffering, an act of like being refined in the fire. And so this isn't going away. And conservatives, people on the right, people in the middle, people that are logical liberals, and, you know, I have a lot of gay people message me, and people in the LGBTQ community message me and say, you know what, I am this in the LGBTQ community, and I do not support this bill. It makes us look bad. And I'm not making that up, and I can prove it but I don't want to just loud people out on here. This person, his name is blah, blah, blah. Their name is blah, 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 and they live at this address. But like, people message me a lot and say, I do not support this bill. So this idea that it's like only straight people for this bill is a lie as well. And that's what's pushed by the media consistently. But people need to realize that there's going to be a battle. Killer T-Cell says, maybe we can import some cool, desperate immigrants en masse through cartel-funded mass human trafficking. Aren't we already doing that? That's a funny one. All right, let's listen to this. Speaking of groomers.
Daughter of
Back to, is it grooming? Is it not grooming argument? Just people telling them about what they did for the weekend. Jimmy Cartier. I don't know how to say your name. On Twitch, what's up, man? It's effed that my sexual preference is automatically associated with some political view, even myself as a person. God, Jimmy. That just got me so freaking fired up, dude. I freaking hate that crap. I hate people will look at you and they'll assume everything about I hate people that follow me that are POCs, LGBTQ community, trans as well, that follow me and discuss with me and are open to ideas and open to having a conversation. Not everything is freaking hate speech. Not like I remember a time when assuming something based on someone's gender or especially the color of their skin was seen as not a good thing. And actually what the definition of racism was assuming something based on you fill in the blank. Killer T-Cell says, I think the increased in Patriots starting schools is winning next step. Like comparing the difference between a couple of years will be very evident. It will be very evident. And there needs to be more people on both sides of the aisle ready to engage in education. I was the only one in education who was open to having a conversation when Donald Trump was president that wasn't just, he's the most evil dictator, basically Hitler in disguise ever. Like, I was the only teacher in education besides the guy that was cleaning the school. Like who I have, Jimmy says on Twitch, like who I have sex with or am attracted to has absolutely nothing to do with who I am as a human being, LOL. I used to think that right-wingers were the ones judging, but now it flips so hard. God, freaking heck yeah, dude. Yeah. I don't care. I don't care. I guess. But like, when we talk about teachers and we talk about education, it's funny that the Supreme Court nominee, she doesn't know how to define a woman because she's not a biologist, but then these teachers who are happy to talk about life development and brain development, they're not psychologists, they're not brain surgeons, they're not doctors, they're just, they have their teacher's license. And again, that's what I had as a teacher. I just had a easy license and I was able to teach. I didn't know everything about the brain, but these people that they're so quick to talk about we'll just push down hormones for people under 18. We have no idea what it does to their body. We need to be affirming all the time. This idea that we need to affirm children always, no matter what, is insane. They're children. People that are for affirming children probably don't work with freaking children, period. Because I work with kids for a long time, and kids will come to me and say the most insane things to me. And if I was affirming to them all the time, they would change and flip-flop every day of their life. And I have people that come to me, they'll message me and say, I'm so glad my mom allowed me to go through my tomboy phase and didn't just assume my sexuality because of how I dressed or what I wanted to do or because I like sports. You need to allow kids to just be kids. Allow them to experience things. Allow them to get muddy. Allow them to get dirty. Allow them to get a scraped knee. Allow them to skateboard, whatever. Do dangerous stuff. Have have conversations, but not force it and not just be like, hey, you're a freaking kindergarten. What's your sexuality? What's your gender preference? Or what's your pronouns? These kids don't get that. They don't have the brain capacity to think through these difficult issues. And to say that they do, you have not researched kids. And I have. And I don't normally talk about what I do for a living, but now what I do now, I know more about life development and brain development. You are destabilizing children from being freaking children. I've been going to school board. Killer T Cell says, I've been going to school board meetings and doing a recall. That's freaking awesome, dude. People need to get more engaged in their school boards because school board meetings were seen as a joke, and especially just local politics in general. Town council, stuff like that was seen as a waste of time, and it's not. You need to engage in your local politics. Local politics is where it's at. Everyone's so concerned about the president. Be more concerned about your town council and your mayors more than the president. Yes, the president is important, but everything starts at the local level. Jimmy says, dude, at 16, I didn't know what was for dinner. Exactly. The idea that a child can make a life-altering decision like gender change or whatever is insane. Dude, it is insane. You don't allow 5th grade girls to get boob jobs. All right? You don't allow or to get a tail at the end of their butt or their tongue to be cut in half or we're not doing plastic surgery on kindergartners, but we need to do everything else because it's seen as hate speech or you're going to potentially murder, kids are going to do self-harm. In fact, we should need to teach kids how to cope through some of these things of things not fair in life or maybe waiting to get older to do stuff. We need to teach kids how to cope through some of the stresses in life, through some of the anxiety-induced stresses in life. Dude, every week, 20-something teachers get arrested for sloping a teen. Yeah. Well, any profession, any profession, Disney, churches, schools, any profession that works with kids, you have to do background checks all the time. And even with that, it doesn't necessarily mean that nothing negative is going to happen. You just have to keep a watch out always. That's why when I worked with kids, I always had people I would never be in a room alone with another high school girl. I would have another person along with me just for accountability, not necessarily with me, but with them too as well, so they couldn't make up stories about me. You need to the kids' minds and what goes on in their heads and things that happen in schools and stuff like that. You need accountability, and the only way to do that is to be more honest and to continue to do background checks and not continue to promote this sexual revolution as they promote it younger and younger. It's just weird. When I worked with high school, it's just bad. If you're an adult and want to do it, go ahead. But putting those things on kids is paramount, and signing off your teenage daughter's facelift. Exactly. CRT, LGBTQ, masks are not popular. Just happy to be in Texas. Hey, Jimmy, good for you, man. Yep, the local is everything you think about. The real hardcore dystopian shit. Hint, your sheriff doesn't want you to live in an effed up community. Yeah, exactly. Local is everything. Your mayor is very, very, very important. Your town council is very, very important. If people don't remember through all the mask mandates and curfew lockdowns and stuff like that happened during COVID, we might have another dose of reality soon coming up. Without getting too tinfoily, I'd postulate that this is a reaction to the unnatural access to information and influence that the internet generation has been dealing with. I'm nearly 30, shout out to 30, and feel so thankful that I am analog child and got into the internet once I developed a little. Yeah, that's true, man. The internet encourages the more insane you are. You get pushed to the top. Even myself, when I do like TikTok clips, the more insane my content is, or the more like wacky, where there's like no context, or I don't teach anyone anything and just say little silly clips, those are the ones that get pushed to the top more than the ones that like I take time out of my day to research information, and I look up information, I back check things, and I use multiple sources, and it takes me like hours to do. Like those clips get no views, but the clips that like get like me just mocking someone or doing something silly for a minute, those clips get insane hits. Like it doesn't make any sense. Like I have one video right now that has like 30,000 views on TikTok, and then I have one that has like 200,000. And they are totally nonsensical. but the ones that I take time with, it like they get like 1,000 views or something like that. Yeah, man, we're Beep Beep says just wait for the food shortages for the authoritarian heel to. Oh my God, make sure you have emergency food supply. I mean, I joked about that until the pandemic at the peak, and I got nervous about that. But Joe Biden has talked about food shortages. Even Klaus Schwab has talked about food shortages. The WEF has talked about it. So, like, I don't know what that means, but you need to pay attention and keep an eye on prices. And not only that, have some things stocked up. Yeah, man, we are desensitized to anything that requires too much thought and attracted to shock value. Yeah, exactly. Makes perfect sense, really. Yeah, it does. Because it's a play on our emotions. That's why so much in the news media and corporate news media, they like emotional language. They like emotional-based stories. That's why they don't care about revisiting old stories they got wrong, or just in like the Hunter Biden stuff. It's like CNN's like, we won't really talk about that. It's nothing to do with Biden. It's all Hunter. Okay? It's all Hunter. We're not going to get into it. We're not going to go into it. So shut your mouth. But everything is emotional based, and that's why, like, even in Fox News and stuff like that, they're like, the right is attacking us, and then you go to the left is attacking us, and then you go to Fox News, it's the left is attacked. Everyone's attacking everyone, and everyone's trying to like ruin everyone's life, and everything's emotionally based, and nothing is like logical and having a decent discussion, and like your side is different than my side, and maybe we'll have different opinions on how to run the government and stuff like that, and what taxes should go to where and stuff like that. We're just like so overly emotional, high anxiety people groups nowadays. Killer T cells, they will go for the protein first. We still have guns. Weird. Cows, Bill Gates, he loves his little vegetarian diet. I mean, he's definitely the picture of beauty when it comes to, what a vegetarian man should look like. It'll be interesting to see the U.S. media response to Trump's inevitability winning the next election if he runs. Yeah, I do wonder about Trump running. I know he's gotten a lot of pushback for his pushing Dr. Oz lately, which will be interesting to see how some of his like really staunch supporters react to it. But I think he's going to run, and I assume he's going to win. I just don't there's no way Joe Biden's running again. So I just don't, I mean, I say that, but it's also Joe Biden we're dealing with and his ego. I didn't think he would make it this far along, and people are talking about provoking the 25th Amendment in the next election cycle. So we'll see how that goes. I don't know. But the media will lose their minds if Trump wins. The media will lose their shizzle. And they're going to have to deal with people being excited, and they won't know what to do with it. It seems like you would disarm the free and flee before you start to star people. Oh, what do you think, Killer T-Cell, what do you think that little speech from Biden was today? He wants to reduce your capacity in your magazines and go after assault weapons. What the frick is an assault weapon? Huh? People that use the term assault weapons don't know what an assault weapon is. They're just like, we'll go after assault rifles. And they're like, well, there's only one manufacturer that makes an actual assault rifle because they're not allowed to use that word. And I'm not like a huge gun nut, but like this idea that like they're going to go after more and more, and they want more control. They want you to reduce your magazine capacity. They don't want a free thinking society that has an arms to defend itself from an authoritarian government like what's going on in China right now. They don't want that. And so they'll do whatever it takes to get more of that power. And they'll create some kind of emergency situation or like an emergency order that needs to be placed in order for your freedoms to be taken down always. And so it's the same thing with COVID. It's like, we have to do this because if you don't, well, everyone's going to die. And like, you want this. They get to the point where you even get to the point where you're like, maybe I do kind of want that. Yeah, we should lock down for 14 days. That makes sense. I don't think a single Democrat with a brain cell that still thinks Biden is a good pick. Yeah, you're right. I mean, Jimmy, I think you'd be surprised, man. I think you'd be very surprised that you'd be surprised how many people don't engage with culture or politics or news in general, and how they think like it's just a right-wing conspiracy that Joe Biden has a cognitive decline of any sort. They think whatever. You'd be surprised some of the comments I get of like, we'll be talking about Biden and all of a sudden they'll just like start talking about Trump out of nowhere. The derangement is there. It's still deep. It's still deeply there. They are not going to give that up. 6 dudes with bolt actions to do what you think they will escalate and to grab the gun. Yeah. Killy T-Cell, are you talking about Gretchen Whitmer? Which that story went south real fast, as we talked about last Friday. Isn't it incredible the FBI just encouraging that kind of crap? Like, go after real criminals. Don't try to make criminals. Like this, it's like the FBI thinks that they live in this movie, and they're just like, are you kind of crazy? We're going to push you to the edge and make you do even something silly, really crazy, to really go after you. I don't know. Okay. Now that we're on the train of Democrats, I think that was a fun little engagement with you guys just now. Now we're on the train of Democrats. This clip being passed around today was kind of my favorite. Well, actually, it was passed around yesterday. Kind of my favorite. Joe Scarborough is realizing it's actually cool to not be so fringe nowadays. I think he's starting to pull back a little, showing his conservative side. Basically, the Lincoln Project.
And Rev, I want to talk to you about a real blind spot that a lot of Democrats in the Beltway in D.C. have that you don't, and you've been warning about. But let's just say it right here, and let me say it slowly for my Democratic friends in Washington, D.C. Black voters are more conservative than you are. White woke leaders in Washington, D.C.
I thought he was talking to him for a second. More conservative than you. Than everyone.
See, Hispanic voters are more conservative than you are.
Yeah,
white woke leaders in Washington, D.C. Asian American voters are more conservative than you are. White woke voters in Washington, D.C.
And New York and L.A., you forgot all these places.
More conservative on crime. They're more conservative on education.
Well, they're more conservative on crime because, I don't know, people like me that lived in Chicago that would hear gunshots, every Friday night and Saturday night, it gets a little old.
They're more conservative on, quote, these woke issues. Get off of Twitter. I'm telling you. And Rev, If you look at Biden, Biden runs against 15 progressives. Biden's the only moderate. Biden wins. We've said it time and again. Eric Adams runs as a conservative. He wins Brooklyn. He wins the Bronx.
Yeah, Eric Adams is super conservative. These people on MSNBC just think like anyone that's not totally insane is conservative. They're just like, you're basically right wing. You want more police? Right wing. But make sure those kids in kindergarten are masked up.
He wins Staten Island, surprise. He wins Queens as a conservative, as a centrist Democrat.
Wait, is it conservative or centrist, Joe? Figure it out.
Can you please? I know you've done it a lot.
No.
Can you explain to white woke leaders, can you explain to them that they're not only losing white dudes in the upper Midwest, they're losing people of color?
They're losing people of color because they really don't get the people of color's life. If you are living in a city, in a neighborhood that is inundated with crime, and you act like that is not an issue, you've already lost me. That is an issue. Yes, we must deal with policing. I've been out front of that. But you cannot ignore when 12-year-old kids whose somebody's niece and neighbor is killed, and you act like that's a non-issue because you're too elitist to live on the ground.
There we go. This is what happens when you have all these people in mainstream, I almost said mainstream, corporate media, politicians, and their elitist attitude of like how rich they are. They have no idea what the average human being, and it's not even people of color. It's just poor people in general. Poor people that live in inner cities are tired of crime. It gets exhausting going to your local Walgreens and watching people just ransack it, hearing gunshots at night, watching people just get knocked out in the subway. That stuff starts to drive you crazy. Jimmy says it's almost like communities need to hold themselves accountable. Yeah, well, there's that too. That there are some aspect where these communities have, not only encouraged this vote, promoted it, and seen it as like progression. So, but then you have people like me that like I got to Chicago. I couldn't take it anymore. I lived in the inner city of Chicago. I didn't live in the suburbs. I'm not one of those people that's like, you didn't live in Chicago. I lived there, and it was crazy. And at night, you just knew, unless you were surrounded with a bunch of people, if you went out by yourself, you better like run or look a little crazy or bike really fast. Like it's just not safe. And that is not how people are meant to live. Living with a heightened sense of anxiety everywhere you go so you can have the city experience is not something that is okay for a human being to live throughout for long extended periods of time. It gets old after a while. It starts to wear you down. You start to hate your life after a while. You want to get out of the city and you look to the rural things, but then people are scared because they're like, I don't want to deal with those crazy conservatives, because everyone in rural cities are like that. They're just down to earth and really sweet and nice and leave me alone type of person. Hey, thanks for following me. I appreciate you, Jimmy. If you overlay a single mom concentration in crime, you're looking at the crime map. Single mom oh, that's really sad. Well, but it makes sense, Okay, a little bit about me. I used to work with inner city youth in Chicago for a long time. And a lot of the kids I worked with, a lot of their dads were in prison. A lot of them weren't around. A lot of them didn't know. And you could just see how they craved an adult male attention, so much so that they would join other gangs, they would join other people because they would look for leadership in their life. And to have someone like me that was a positive influence in their life change, I'm not saying I changed it, but like other guys like me that were a part of the group I was a part of would change lives, because these young boys crave discipline, and they crave like how they don't know how to be a man. They don't know how to grow up to be a man. And it's like devastating. And their moms are working two different jobs to survive. They're living off paycheck to paycheck. A lot of them also drove like Mercedes. I don't know how that happened, but and also had nicer shoes than me. I don't know that. It's just really sad. It's devastating and sad. And you're seeing these politicians not give a shit about these kids in inner city. They don't care. As long as they stay in power, as long as they continue these kids stay on the government teat, that's all they care about. Because if you look to your government for hope, you look to your government for sustenance, you look to your government for food, your daily bread, if you will, you will keep people in power that want more power, and that usually is in line with the Democratic Party, unfortunately. Or fortunately, depending on what you believe. So, really sad stuff. Every Monday we talk about how many kids were shot over the weekend, and it's devastating. It's freaking devastating. Chirac was a movie by Spike Lee, and it was like seen as like just kind of a crazy movie that just went under the rug, and it's devastating. More people die. Isn't it the statistic? More people die in Chicago than they did in Iraq. It's like, it's just, to pretend like we're not a terribly run, our inner cities aren't terribly run, is such a lie and a farce that it's devastating to see. And it's sad that no one talks about it, and everyone's talking about, like, you know, the Don't Say Gay bill, which has nothing to do with gay people or whatsoever. It's just sexuality in general. People aren't talking about that, but then we look at our inner cities and we're watching drug epidemics. We're watching these people just homeless when they're open year drug use, and people without jobs, and like homeless veterans and stuff like that. No one cares about those people. No one gives a crap. They care about their Instagram likes, and they care about these bills that have nothing to do with them. It's always like, we got to go after the right. We got to go after whatever Texas and Florida are doing, not actually talk about our own freaking cities. It is crime stats for Chirac, right? Dude, I get so frustrated watching people on the left just not talk about crime as if like it's not a big deal. It's because it's not affecting you because you're rich. The only people that don't talk about it are people that are rich, and I'm not. So I will happily continue to talk about it. I don't live in a gated community, you know. I have insane neighbors. Like, I just had to get rid of one. I'm just kidding. But like, I don't know. And this is why I wish some of these voters would wake up to some of this and stop looking to voting for the same party. You vote for the same party every year and you expect change. And then when, like, I just saw Pete Buttigieg go on, what's that show with Charlemagne in the morning? Guy, you're white. I forget his name. Hot 97, or I can't remember, but he was just like, Charlemagne just called out Pete Buttigieg and said, like, you haven't followed through on any promises, and black people don't trust you. I wish that was the case. You guys keep voting for the same party every year, and that's disappointing because it makes no sense. It's just sad, you know. The crime stats, all people, like, I just want, even if Democrats are logical Democrats, like Michael Shellenberger, who's running for governor of California. He probably won't get voted in, even though I don't agree with a lot of his politics, but he's also not just totally woke and insane and so progressive that he doesn't care about the average everyday human being. All people who vote Dem for the next 22 are confirmed NPCs. Yeah. It's hard to watch some of our, like, Chicago, beautiful city, gorgeous, great architecture, decent people, especially in the summer, for the most part, and great culture, great food, great sports teams. And then instead of like being relaxed and enjoying the city, you have to worry about your life. You have to worry about where you are at certain times of night. You have to and people mock that, but I'm like, you shouldn't have to live that way. Why is that such a crazy idea to like want to be safe? Or not have to like worry about your life being threatened, or like you live in a city with such harsh gun laws that only the actual criminals have guns and not the law-abiding citizens. Do you remember Pete Buttigieg campaign ad catering to the African American vote? No, I barely remember that. It was so bad. I don't remember that. Pete Buttigieg is still trying to run for president. Let's just be real. I've never seen a transportation secretary get in front of cameras so much in my life. like the dude is like, I mean, he speaks more eloquently than Joe Biden does. I'll give him that. And Kamala Harris. But he's kind of like Democrat Party. It's like Bernie Sanders. Like, you chose them over us? They're like, yes. Yes, why? I think this is hilarious. This story right here. This is reliable sources with Brian Stelter. All right. And you have this Yale graduate kid that goes on and starts saying that, you know, people on the right and Fox News don't talk about this kind of information, and people like on CNN don't talk about this information. And you watch how Brian Stelter starts to like, he starts to get a little angry. Brian's getting upset.
So, Josh, you all call this partisan coverage filtering. And basically, you're proving what we've sensed for a while, which is Fox viewers are in the dark about bad news for the GOP.
I love how you just like puts like words in this guy's mouth. You're talking about the different sides, and he's like, yeah, Fox News, because Fox News is the evil corporation, not us.
Which is Fox viewers are in the dark about bad news for the GOP.
That's right. Fox and CNN cover different issues, and Fox News predominantly covers issues that make the GOP look good and make Democrats look bad. And on the flip side, CNN engages in this partisan coverage filtering as well that we find.
How dare you?
For example, during this time, the Abraham Accords were signed, and these were the agreements where Israel, the UAE, and Bahrain signed a major peace agreement. And we see that Fox News covered this really major accomplishment about 15 times more than CNN did. So we established both networks are really engaging in this partisan coverage filtering. It's not about one side, it's about the media writ large.
I think you're engaging in some both sidesism there, Josh.
Yeah, how dare you hold both of us accountable the same way you're holding Fox News accountable? That's preposterous.
Not trying to lay out a moral equivalency. It's not about what an objective standard is. It's really about how all networks do engage in this, and in order for viewers to get a realistic picture of the world, we need viewers to see all types of information. And unfortunately, what we find in this study is that the viewers don't want to engage in watching all sides. So as David mentioned, we see that viewers, we pay them for 4 weeks to watch CNN, but then after those payments stop, they go back to watching Fox News. So even though we try to incentivize viewers to watch both Fox and CNN, they don't want to engage in that hard work. Mm-hmm. They want to really just watch the side that makes them feel good. And this is why the media has such an important responsibility to cover both sides, to hold both parties accountable.
Wow. Oh. I like that there's only one news anchor who holds his own network accountable, and it's Tucker Carlson. I know he's a huge white supremacist and basically a pro-Putin supporting anti-vax, whatever crap you want to say. He's the only person that is okay with talking ill about his own corporation he works for. Like, everyone else is such a shill. They're just like, how dare you? How dare you talk about us like that? Oh, imagine being so blindsided. Speaking of crime, I don't know if you guys saw this video being passed around, but this is insane. Here's a little crime video from LA. You know, they got to stop USPS because of the crime. Huh. Maybe they can get a little security guard for their own USPS guy. It's not dogs this time. It's somebody else.
Good morning, Tony and Araxia. Yes, it's a definitely concerning situation here on the 1300 block of 14th Street in Santa Monica, where residents say they have suspended mail service because of the fact that their mail carriers have been attacked or threatened or assaulted. And they say this has been going on for a few weeks now. Even one resident saying they saw mail strewn about the street because a man kicked over the cart and basically threatened the mail carrier with a golf club or some type of bat. So because of all this, the Postal Service here in Santa Monica sent a letter on April 7th last week saying that the mail service will be suspended for this area. About 200 families will be impacted because of this, because it's just not safe for their letter carriers to be out here delivering the mail. Now, of course, residents are concerned about this and wondering why they can't just apprehend the person involved in all this, making the threats. Obviously, the Postal Service service. According to this letter that they issued to the residents, say that this isn't a decision they made lightly, but they cannot locate or apprehend the person involved in these threats. And so for the safety of the letter carriers, they had to make the decision to suspend mail service here in this area.
Suspending mail service in Santa Monica. God. That's when you know your crime is so bad. But don't worry, it's just a right-wing conspiracy that crime is on the rise. That's just a right-wing thing. Even though this is LA, Good Day LA reporting on this information, I'm sure is paining her to talk about. LA is insane. I have family who live in LA, and I do not get it. It is such a hellhole. It's Charlie Sheen. What is he? Tiger blood? He's looking for his tiger blood. He's like, man, I'm looking where my tiger blood at.
You crazy as hell.
I know. Thanks, Medea. You remember when Charlie Sheen had all those videos? I don't know how old you are, BB, but I'm an oldie but the goodie. Okay. But remember when Charlie Sheen had all those videos of talking about tiger blood and like all the women he slept with and winning? Winning. We should try to look those up. I'm gonna look those up right now. I'm sure they're on. They gotta be on. We gotta be on here, right? Let's see. Charlie Sheen winning. Come on. Come on. Where is he? Gathering of the Juggalos. There's an old clip. Yeah, I'm on a drug. It's called Charlie Sheen. He looked like he was on drugs so long ago. All right. Winning. It's a GIF. Man, Charlie Sheen was a badass. Just living every guy's dream. All right, I can't find it. Speaking of insane. All right, look at this clip from Joy Reid. Basically, the left's answer to Tucker Carlson. She's hard-hitting news. And she has a TikTok. Praise God. But here's Joy Reid, just really triggered by all these people asking the SCOTUS, the new SCOTUS, Ketanji Brown Jackson, about defining a woman. She's not a biologist. I don't know what a woman is, even though we celebrated her being the first black woman, even out of her own mouth, celebrating being the first black woman, but not being able to define what a woman is. So she used a term that she can't define. And so therefore, contextually, it makes absolutely no sense. Here we go. It looks like George Floyd in a wig. Oh my God. Boy, Beep, you crazy.
I'm just going to say this.
Say it.
If y'all don't mind.
Say it, girl.
I am so sick of right-wing men coming into my mention.
Exactly. I'm about to head up her mentions right now. What up, girl?
And asking me stupid, basic biology questions.
Oh, like what's a woman?
Like, what is a woman? And
yeah, it's such a stupid, basic biology question that none of us can answer, but it's stupid, and it's basic, and it's biology, and it's science.
Are babies valuable? I have given birth to not one, not two, but 3 full humans and raised them with the help of my husband.
Yikes.
I am a mother, but I'm not your mother.
Will you be my mommy?
If you need answers to basic biological questions, you need to Google it or ask your mama. Again,
my mom's not a biologist. I don't know.
I'm a mother, but I'm not your mother.
It's such a stupid biological conversation, and yet our most prestigious, most amazing new SCOTUS nominee can't can't give a definition for a word, yet uses a word. What is a woman? I don't even know. Help me, mommy. I love her, like, cat calling all these right-wing conservatives. She basically is trying to sleep with all of them. Isn't that what you're supposed to say? Never seen this woman before. Is she important? She's a mother person. Yeah, she's a birthing person, mother person. If Joy Reid was my mom, I would be pro-choice. That might be the funniest thing I've ever read. If Joy Reid was my mom, I'd be pro-choice. That's so messed up. But so funny. Men thinking they're more knowledgeable than a literal Supreme Court nominee. Not at all surprising. God, I love this app. Oh my gosh. She's so annoying. I can't tell if I want to watch this view. Trump says he thinks he's the most honest human ever. That's way too long of a segment. I do kind of want to hear this. So this is on CNBC. Elon Musk's decision not to join the board is a great thing for Twitter, according to CNBC.
Mike, I know you haven't been on the Twitter board for about 10 years or so, but as a former insider here, I'm curious how you perceive Musk's move now to not join the board and whether that's actually worse for Twitter.
Well, thanks for having me, Sarah. I would say that this is still a great thing for Twitter. Having your largest shareholder be one of your very best users, that's a very healthy thing. It's a great thing for Twitter still. Whether he's on the board or not, he's still going to have just as much of an impact on both Twitter as well as the product.
It's a great thing for Twitter, Julia. What do you think? His tweets are not so friendly about Twitter.
His tweets aren't friendly? Why? Because he wants to improve the platform? God, that's basically hate speech.
Well, I think we have to acknowledge something that the CEO said in the tweet when he announced the news that Musk was not going to be joining the board, which is that they have to be aware of distractions and they have to be able to keep working despite those many distractions. There is no doubt that what is going on right now is a major distraction, not only for the people working at the company, but also potentially for investors. I mean, you have to look at...
Why is it a distraction? Why is it not a welcoming, amazing thing? Oh, it's a distraction. It's a negative thing, huh?
This company as one that has undergone so many changes. They have lost the CEO of Jack Dorsey. They have this new CEO who investors really are unfamiliar with. And they have a company that's trying to...
What? Nobody knows who Elon Musk is? Who is this Elon Musk and what is he about? Probably one of those Trump supporters.
Dramatically diversify its revenue streams and expand, not only adding more users, but also adding different ways to make money. So there's a lot going on right now. It's already battled with Elliott as an activist investor, and now they're looking at a potential other activist investor in Elon Musk, who is in his tweets kind of directing the conversation about the company right now. So I do think there is this major...
Yeah, like his last tweet about calling out, saying all the top users of Twitter don't actually ever tweet, like Justin Bieber, who tweeted once the entire year last year. Yeah, he's making things he's so hostile and not friendly towards the app.
Risk of distraction.
Mike, what is the problem at Twitter? Because in some ways it's facing the same issues that it did back when you were on the board, which is an issue of monetization and growing users. What is the issue there?
I can help you. It's called censorship and called, putting down people and not allowing them to grow on the platform and not helping them grow on the platform. And the people that are engaged in the platform, those people aren't helped out as much as the people who just have huge followings.
Well, I think it's important to put things in perspective. I mean, I completely agree with Julia. The point about avoiding distractions is very important. And it's always been the case at Twitter. At Twitter's constantly, there's always somebody around who thinks that they, have a great idea for what Twitter should do next. And, Twitter's able to roll with that. And, I think that Twitter is more relevant now than it has been in another year, a year ago. Or
No.
Or 10 years ago.
Only one man rebuilt Twitter by being on the app, and that was Donald Trump. That brought people back because I stopped caring about Twitter. I was on Twitter. I was one of the early users of Twitter a really long time ago, back when barely anyone was on it, and there was not a lot of functionality, and there was like, it was really weird to tag people and at people and even tweet. It was such a weird app, but I was like, oh, this is like the future. And I just stopped using it. And then Donald Trump came along, and all of a sudden I felt like it just changed my mind about Twitter completely. And you can see it in their stock price.
Elon tweeted out that, hey, Justin Bieber hasn't tweeted anything recently. Is Twitter dead? Actually, I think right now it's a great signal that, people turn to Twitter every single day to find out what's going on in Ukraine. Zelensky is tweeting while he's being attacked. I mean, that's fundamentally better than it was just 10 years ago when Justin Bieber crime, thing that people were coming to Twitter for. So I think as long as Twitter stays focused on the fundamentals, continues to, become this, quality place where people can find out what's going on right now. People are conversing in this town square in a healthy, vibrant, non-toxic way.
There it is. There it is. You're allowed to be a part of the town square if you're being healthy, and this guy has the most low-T voice I've ever had. He does need to check his T levels. You're allowed to be part of the town square if you talk in a healthy manner. And what did he say? Healthy and what?
Conversing in this town square in a healthy, vibrant, non-toxic way.
Healthy, vibrant, and non-toxic, aka you're allowed to say what we tell you you're allowed to say. Okay? This idea that you can just come on our platform and say whatever you want is not a thing. Unless Elon does the impossible and does a hostile takeover, please God.
Then I think Twitter's going to be in great shape and will continue to grow.
Well, it's not healthy. It's very toxic. I don't know what the third thing you said.
Yeah, it's not healthy or toxic, so shut your freaking mouth.
It is, but there's a lot of negativity and trolls and fake users and everything, Mike. But I actually wanted to get your...
Yeah, all these fake users. Well, an easy way for fix that is to verify people, but you don't want to. You only want to hand out your little blue check marks to people here and there. I can't wait for the libs to get censored in this bitch. I know.
Your thoughts
I don't
specifically on Jack Dorsey.
I can't wait. I hope Elon does like a hostile takeover and just takes over the whole app and just opens it up, takes away, like allows freedom of speech, people not to get censored, unless obvious things like you can't actually be allowed to say I'm going to kill you like in real life. You can't say stuff like that in real life, so why should you be able to say it on the internet? And that shadow banning needs to go away and stuff like that, where you can't look up stuff or accounts are hard to follow or they're not promoted as much no matter how engaged they are as a user base and stuff like that. That stuff needs to all go away. And I think if the playing field is level, that's when they'll start to get angry, when their tweets aren't promoted above yours.
Dorsey and what
because they're the pillars of society.
Where this puts him right now. He's founder, former CEO, on the board, and an Elon Musk fan. Is he going to come in between the CEO and the company's now largest shareholder?
Well, I don't know what Jack and Elon are talking about. I mean, Jack is a very first principles based guy. He's trying to create this town square can talk. I think he's done a lot of great work to reduce.
It's not a town square. All right. Quit calling it a town square. A town square allows people to speak their mind. That was the whole point of a town square. You would go to a park, and there are famous parks all around the United States where you would go and you would stand on top of a box, and a lot of preachers would go preach the gospel, but people would spread the news that way and stuff like that, and they would have all these times, but you were allowed to say whatever you want, and that's why it was so important. This is not a town square. This is more like I don't know, some kind of like detention center where you're not allowed. You can speak within these parameters, and we're probably not going to elevate your voice because you're not one of the important people. Okay, it's like some of these people like that have like 200,000 followers, but then when they tweet, they have like one like consistently on a lot of their tweets, and I'm like, how is this even a thing? How do they have that many followers and have zero engagement? It makes no sense. And like people like myself, and maybe I'm just not interesting, but like people like myself just struggle to grow on that platform because they don't promote people like me, you know? I mean, I've had lots of tweets like either banned or I've been in lockout and stuff like that. And I'm sure people that have been locked out on Twitter are put on a list where they're just not as promoted as much because we're seen as the fringe. We're seen as not in line with Twitter's values. So we're not going to promote those voices on our platform.
The trolls and the toxicity, but I agree with you. That is the existential threat to Twitter or any platform
Existential
like Twitter,
threat
is the trolls and the toxicity. And that, I think is where there's going to need to continued focus by Twitter on making sure that that environment for those conversations is a healthy one. And that means that sometimes people are going to get kicked off of Twitter. And that's a good thing. That's an okay thing.
Killer T-Cell, you got 150 I got to 150 followed and would get banned. Exactly.
So I think it's really important that
the easy solution to get rid of, anonymous accounts and stuff like that is to force people to be verified. But, most people would not want to do that. I don't even know if I would. Because I was like, I don't trust Twitter with my information. I don't know about you. If you're on Twitter, I'll follow you. Make sure you follow me. They're just freaking out about Elon Musk, and they don't know what to do about it. They really don't. All right, I'm going to finish up with this clip because I can't help it. It's too insane. Trump says he's the most honest person.
So Trump was on the road again this weekend to tell a rally crowd in North Carolina how he's the last honest man in D.C. Yeah, and I'm a natural redhead. Watch.
I'm a natural redhead, you son of a...
I've been investigated by the Democrats more than Billy the Kid, Jesse James, and Al Capone combined. And in all cases, I've been innocent. I've got to be the cleanest sheriff. I think I'm the most honest human being, perhaps, that God ever created.
Oh my gosh, I'm just laughing with and at. I'm probably the most honest human being that God ever created. It's so good. It's just so good. Oh, I can't believe people get mad at this kind of stuff. It's just so silly. We're just such a silly population that gets triggered and mad at him just speaking over the top like this. Like a typical billionaire businessman. I'm sure they all talk like this, right?
Innocent. I've got to be the cleanest sheriff. I think I'm the most honest human being, perhaps, that God ever created. Perhaps.
Oh, leave God out of this, Donald.
Yeah, let Joy talk about God.
And back in the real world, evidence is piling up that he and his lackeys did, in fact, try to steal the election.
Wait, so it wasn't the most free and fairest election ever?
Congresswoman Liz Cheney says the January 6th committee has evidence that crimes were committed.
Crime. You can always say when they're lying when they struggle to speak. There's crimes. Their evidence is piling up more than ever. It's Russian collusion all over again. It's Trumpgate.
That crimes were committed. And CNN has texts of Donald Jr. sharing strategies with Chief of Staff Mark Meadows to keep his dad in office before election results were in.
Show us the text.
Claiming, quote, we have
She can barely read the teleprompter. I know.
multiple paths we control and we.
Well, she's so like heightened in her anxiety and just so angry that she can't properly read. She's just like, every time I see this man, I'm gonna lose my
control them all. What more do they need to charge these people with a crime? Can some patriotic American please go to the Justice Department and wake up Merrick Garland?
Seriously, I don't care what the crime is, just put him in jail. Period. We cannot have him running for re-election. That can't happen. If it happens, our ratings go up because we're going to get crazier.
Well, I think that's why prosecution is so important here, because there have
She has gotten so like elitist and pompous in her reaction. She's like, I think what's actually happening here, if I may speak, if I may. She's so knows she's full. Yeah, she knows
no
she's full of it.
consequences. And you hear Donald Trump right there saying, I've been investigated and no wrongdoing has been found. That's why.
Right. So maybe lay off? No, that's cue for the people on the left to double down. Even though we investigate these people and find nothing and can't charge them with stuff, we're going to keep investigating because we need the people on our side to know that we're investigating these people.
I was so disappointed with the decision by the Manhattan District Attorney's Office not to prosecute. That's why I've been so disappointed.
Yeah, I'm disappointed even though they found no information to prosecute, which obviously is the reason why they stopped, because you know these people, yeah, it is Blue Annan, 100%. You know these people, especially in Manhattan, will do whatever they can to put Trump behind prison, and if there is actually a case, they will do whatever it takes to put him in prison. This idea that, like, they just, like, stopped, like, investigating. No, they got to the point where they had all their information they needed, and they came to the conclusion of, we got nothing. But, yeah, we'll keep this conspiracy, secret, evil plot that Trump has going on. Sounds awfully familiar.
With the Department of Justice not to do anything thus far. And I think Hillary Clinton has been correct about so many things. But
that's when you know you've lost it. If you start saying those words out of your mouth, I think Hillary Clinton has been consistent and just right about so many things. That's if I was on that show, I would just like take the mic off and be like, all right, I'm gonna go ahead and see myself out.
But she recently said he will run again, and I think he will because there haven't been any consequences.
Alyssa, will he run again?
He's absolutely running again. And more concerning than that is he is actually stacking state houses, secretaries of state offices, and members of the U.S. House of Representatives. So if he runs again and loses, he will have the levers of government in place to try to once again steal power.
Oh my God, this is insane. How is Alex Jones not allowed on social media platforms, but these people are? Please help me with that. Like, what the frick? This is just insane. Like, this is.
So we need to pay attention to what he's already done. I mean, Don Jr. laid out a coup attempt in a text message, and we're just kind of not doing anything about it. But more importantly is looking.
Yeah, it was a coup. That's what January 6th. That's why there was like so many weapons. Everyone brought their weapons. There was basically armies that were walking around breaking the law. Are they talking about George? Yes.
Forward to what he is trying to
They are talking about George Soros.
do in 2024. He's absolutely running. Like, this is the time. Wake up, America, because our national nightmare is not over.
But we're not waking up. For what reason?
Well, yeah. Well, when you hear about these text messages, a part of me is like, of course these happened. We've been watching for so long, dating back to his first campaign.
That's when you know it's like a narrative and they're just confirmation bias. Like, of course it happened. Of course Trump is this evil dictator, basically Hitler himself reincarnated.
Words before he became president to all the way through. He talked about the foreshadowing moment where he said I could shoot someone and I wouldn't get in trouble. And he just continues.
Yeah, you're not allowed to joke. Those jokes are very serious, and we need to talk about them like as if they are serious.
To not get in trouble. And you watch everything that's come out of his mouth alone. On January 6th, he came out and finally said, go home, we love you, go home. Like, where is the line where someone stands up? We've seen Liz Cheney stand up, and we've seen a few stand up. But at what point? Because now I don't even have a gradient to rate the offenses in any other administration in a vacuum. This would be a whoa moment. It's not a whoa moment.
We're getting numb to it, I think, because it's one revelation after the other, and you feel that there's no consequences. I ran into Merrick Garland. I was at a meeting in the White House the other day, and I ran into him.
Yeah, you guys seem very numb to it. You're not overblowing or being over the top or creating new conspiracies. You seem very even-keeled people. Election fraud is impossible and Trump is going to commit voter fraud. Exactly. Election fraud is impossible. It's the safest, most fairest election ever. And at the same time, Trump is committing voter fraud. It's okay. And they wonder why people are going crazy.
And I literally wanted to like shake him, and I thought, well, the Secret Service is there. That's probably not a good idea.
Oh my God, she just threatened violence on Merrick Garland. See how it works? God. You want to shake him because he's not prosecuting? And he's probably like, there's nothing on him. Go home. Go back to The View. Go back to your TV show and your little bubble. She ran into Merrick Garland and she wouldn't survive.
But it feels like
He
there's
wouldn't
no sense of
survive.
urgency.
Yeah, poor Merrick. He's probably like, ah.
And there should be a sense of urgency because elections are coming. And if the Republicans take the House, as everybody expects them to do,
Got it. Then it's going to basically be hell on earth because Republicans are the meanest and most evil people. That's why people like Mitch McConnell, who are so happy to pass a new budget bill that makes us spend more, is just saying, like, if you just keep Title 42 in there and he'll pass it, they're so evil and different.
one of the first things they're going to do is eliminate and dissolve the January 6th committee. That's right. And so we are running out of time. The clock is ticking, and I think Americans feel very frustrated and have no faith in the process. We keep hearing about
only
it,
you
but
feel
we
frustrated.
See, where's the beef?
Somebody's got to go to jail.
And why are
soon.
incredible Republicans challenging Trump on his lies? There are Republicans who should be out there running against him. Like,
Don't
the
hold your
country
breath.
deserves better.
Don't hold your breath.
Well, yeah.
Don't hold your breath. They're evil people on that side of the aisle. We're the decent ones.
I don't know if anyone will do that. And the interesting thing to me is just because a crime wasn't completed, like a coup and like other things, doesn't mean a crime did not occur. Of
course.
What was that logic? Wait. Just because a crime wasn't completed doesn't mean there was... What? I'm here for this logic. Just because you didn't punch me in the face doesn't mean a crime didn't happen.
Crime wasn't completed, like a coup and like other anyone will do that. And the interesting thing to me is just because a crime wasn't completed, like a coup and like other things, doesn't mean a crime did not occur. Of course. We try those cases all the time. Conspiracy to commit something just because it's not.
Yeah, like Gretchen Whitner, that case is getting dismissed because there's no evidence.
Completed doesn't mean it didn't happen and that you can't charge someone, but it's just not happening.
You have a legal note.
I do. Okay. Donald Trump Jr.'s attorney says that the message being talked about, quote, likely originated from someone else and was forwarded by Don Jr.
Oh, so he got hacked.
So you know what message we're talking about.
Yeah, he got hacked by Anthony Weiner.
Yeah.
So Trump.
Oh, these people. Hey, what do you mean these people? They're incredible. They're incredible human beings, and I hope they never get off their TV show. I think, I know people think these people are insane or like crazy and I shouldn't talk about them, but I think it's important to discuss because they are like kind of the more fringy part of that side of the aisle and the underlying belly of what a lot of people believe. And there's a good amount of people that believe this stuff, which is just, it's insane. It's insane. The fact that we're, with everything going on in the world, with everything like inflation where it's at, gas prices where it's at, crime, you name it, homeless problem, drug problem, border crossing, whatever you want to talk about, gang violence, whatever. I don't care. The fact that they want to talk about a Trump rally should tell you everything about these people and how elitist in their lifestyles, what their lifestyles are like. Period. All right, guys. Thank you guys so much for joining me tonight. It means so much to me. Killer T Cell BB, Jimmy, new follower. I appreciate you. Hope all you guys, they'll ruin people's minds. I know grown men that think like this. Exactly. Like, I get in so many conversations with people that don't believe that people actually believe this stuff. Like, they just think it's like just The View. It's not. It's not just The View. There are so many people out in the world that believe everything that The View talks about. And if you don't engage with it, you aren't ready for that conversation. Because, like, if I don't watch, like, some of the left, like CNN, MSNBC, Joseph Scarborough, The View, like, any of these publications, then I won't be ready to engage in that side of the culture, ready to engage with those people, because then my mind isn't thinking already what they're thinking about. And so like when I engage with people on the left, which I do a lot, I already know what they're thinking about because I watch their news. And so like when they start to like spit out their talking points, which I hear on their side of the aisle so much, I already know what they're going to say before they say it. And so I come up with an argument or a fact or something that just makes them start thinking differently, or I'll like mock sort of the idea. I'll agree with them, and yet mock what they have to say at the same time to show like a different side of the aisle. It's a gift. I'm just kidding. But like, it's important to understand what's going on this side. But I appreciate you guys so much for joining me tonight. Again, I am going on vacation until next week. I'm going for a wedding. I might do videos throughout the week, but I probably won't because I'm going to be in partying and stuff like that. So it's going to be a week off. Don't miss me too much. I'm going to miss you. Tell your friends and family about the Derek O'Shea Show. Share this with all your friends and family. It would mean a lot to me. And I hope you guys enjoy this week of being off from me. But at the same time, don't miss me too much. And I appreciate you guys. I'll end with this break. And then I'll see you. When will I see you? Maybe next Wednesday? I don't think so. Probably next Friday will be it. I mean, it's pretty far away. But look out for my videos. Follow me on all Instagrams, TikTok, Twitters, and all that stuff. I hope you guys have a fantastic night. Love you guys. I appreciate you guys. I'll end with this break. And have a great night. Cinque. My fellow Americans, it's me, Joe Byron. Make sure to support Derek O'Shea by going to buymeacoffee.com/Derek O'Shea. Easily one of my least favorite YouTubers of all time. And all you have to do is go down here, buy him a coffee, support his show, or even join as a member. $3 a month, that's all it costs. And you could be a big time supporter of his show. He's a good guy, but he's a piece of crap, and I hate him for that. I hope you have a great day, and as always, let's go get ice cream, and I need to get my sniff on.